Hello. Today what we're going to be doing is looking at equations of lines that are parallel and lines that are perpendicular. Some of this you may remember from talking about some basic geometry things in the past. When you have two lines that are parallel, they're going to have the same slope. So if we're thinking y equals mx plus b for both of those equations, the m number is going to be the same. What parallel means is just these lines will never intersect, which means touch or cross, because they have the same slope that'll make that happen. So taking a jump ahead to some examples here, we've given us several y equals mx plus b equations. They want us to create or write an equation that is parallel to the given equation. That just means the new equation we write has to have the same slope. So for instance, this first one here, I have y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. Negative 2/3 is my m, or my slope. So my new equation needs to also look like y equals negative 2/3 x. And then I can pick any other number other than plus 4, and I'll get an equation that's parallel. So for instance, y equals negative 2/3 x plus 1, that equation would be parallel to the one we started with. We'll do a few more just to get the idea. Next equation, y equals 2x minus 5. My m is 2. So as long as my equation looks like y equals 2x plus or minus something, it'll be parallel. Let's just say minus 3. This would be parallel to the equation we started with. In the next one, my slope is negative 4. So I just need to write another equation with a slope of negative 4. One that would work, y equals negative 4x plus 3. Last but not least, of these ones at least, slope is 1 over 4. So I need to write another equation with slope of 1 over 4. One that would work, y equals 1/4 x minus 6. So your b number can be pretty much any number you want. Just pick one that's different than the original equation they give you. We're also going to talk about perpendicular lines today. So perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. To find the opposite reciprocal of a number, we do two things. We change its sign. If it's positive, it becomes negative, or the other way around. And we take the reciprocal, which means we flip the fraction. So when we have equations of lines that are perpendicular, their slopes will not be the same. The slopes will be opposite reciprocals of each other. So sort of like we did up here, but now we're talking about perpendicular lines. We need to change our slope. In this first one, the slope is is negative 2 over 3. The slope that I'm going to actually use in my new equation, I need to do the opposite reciprocal. Negative becomes positive. 2 over 3, I'm going to turn upside down and turn into 3 over 2. So this right here will be the slope I'm going to use in my new equation. So y equals, my new slope, the opposite reciprocal is positive 3 over 2 x. And then pick any number you want for b. I'm just going to pick 1. The equation I just circled and the one that's above it will be perpendicular to each other. Perpendicular just means they cross at 90-degree right angles. Looking at the next one, my slope is 2, which you might remember is the same as 2 over 1. To get my slope of my new equation, I need to do opposite. Since this is positive 2 over 1, I'm going to do negative. And then take the reciprocal. 2 over 1, when I flip that fraction upside down, becomes 1 over 2. So now I just need to write an equation with a slope of negative 1 over 2. Y equals negative 1 over 2x minus 4 would work. Any b number is fine. Next up, the slope in this equation is negative 4. We can think of as being negative 4 over 1. The slope of my new equation I'm going to use, negative becomes positive. 4 over 1 becomes 1 over 4. So my new equation will be y equals 1 over 4x. And then any b number you want, let's do plus 2. And last but not least, y equals 1 over 4x plus 1. My new slope, since I start with a positive slope, I'm going to make it negative. 1 over 4 turns into negative 4 over 1, or that's just the same as negative 4. You can write it either way. So one perpendicular equation would be y equals negative 4x minus 5. So for these two types of problems that we just did here, b numbers are completely up to you. You have a lot of freedom there. Just make sure the slopes are what they need to be. Parallel, we keep the slope the same. perpendicular, we keep the slopes opposite reciprocals. The last couple problems we're going to look at are a little more involved. They still want us to think about parallel and perpendicular lines. So this problem says create an equation that is parallel to y equals 3x minus 1 through the point 4, 4. Parallel means we need to have the same slope. So the slope here is 3. My m is going to be 3. I do have to find what b is. It's going to be a very specific b value because we want it to go through the point 4, 4. But we've done things like this before. I can just treat x and y as being 4 because those are the x and y coordinates at that point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do like I did before when I had a point and the slope. I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. I'm going to sub in y, m, and x and use that to find b. X and y are the coordinates of that point they gave us. So y is 4 equals m is the slope that we see in the original equation, so 3. X is also 4. Put that in parentheses or use a times dot. And then plus b. From here, I'm going to solve this to find b. Starting with 3 times 4 is 12. And then to get b by itself, I need to subtract 12 from both sides. 4 minus 12 gives me negative 8. So I now have an m. I now have a b. That's all the information I need to write my equation. Y equals my slope number, which since they're parallel is the same slope as the equation they originally gave us, 3. X. And then my b number, which we just found, was negative 8. So very similar to stuff we've done before. Only thing that's different is you had to know what the word parallel means. Let's try one more. This time they want us to create an equation that is perpendicular to this equation right here and goes through the point 3, 0. Perpendicular, we need to change our slope is the opposite reciprocal. I'm going to abbreviate that because that's a lot to write. Since it's a positive 3 over 4, my slope here, my new slope is going to be negative. 3 over 4 becomes negative 4 over 3. So then, same idea. I have a point, x and y. This time x is 3, y is 0. I have a slope, so I can use y equals mx plus b like I've done before. I can sub 0 in for my y. M is that new opposite reciprocal slope that we just found, negative 4 over 3. X is the x coordinate for our point, so 3 plus b. Now I need to solve this. Start by multiplying here. You're welcome to use a calculator for that if you would like. Negative 4 over 3 times 3 is just negative 4. And now to get b by itself, I need to add 4 to both sides. 0 plus 4 is just 4. So I now have an m, I have a b, I can write my final answer equation. My final answer equation is going to look like y equals, my slope is that opposite reciprocal, negative 4 over 3, x, and then my b number was 4, so plus 4. That is it for today for parallel and perpendicular lines. I hope you have a wonderful day.